Alright, welcome back everyone. We are here with another predictions video. I really appreciate all the support that I got on last week's video with the Premier League predictions, all the comments, you guys commenting your own predictions and commenting ways to improve the video and things that were slightly off or wrong. I know the audio was a problem, so I hope I can improve that in this video. But without further ado, let's start with the La Liga predictions, and we're going to start in 20th, bottom of the table. I have Mallorca. They had the worst defensive record in the top 7 last season in the Segunda División. They finished 5th and they got promoted. They were able to keep their top scorer, Lago Jr., who got 11 goals, but for your top scorer to get 11 goals, it's not that great, especially in the Segunda División. You're taking a step up. To sort of address that problem, they signed forwards in Ante Budimir, who only got 6 goals and 3 assists in 23 games in a subpar league compared to La Liga. Same goes for Yanis Salibur, who in 21 games got 1 goal and 3 assists. Igor Slatanovic, 97 games, 29 goals and 7 assists, but it was in the Serbian league. Pablo Chavarria, 30 games, 5 goals, 3 assists. Again, not great numbers for forwards. In a team that lacks goals and isn't that great defensively. One bright spot is they did sign Alex Febas, a 23-year-old Real Madrid youth product. So an exciting young midfielder. Maybe he can be something, maybe he can't. But I just don't see Mallorca doing much this season. They didn't strengthen enough. There's way better teams in this league compared to Segunda División, which they played in last season. They only ended up 5th, so I don't see them doing much. I see them get relegated in 20th place. Next, we have Real Valladolid in 19th place. They had the worst scoring record in the league last season with only 32 goals. 32 goals in the entire season. There's 38 games in the season, so they couldn't even score close to a goal per game. So that's pretty awful. And to aid in their lackluster attack, they signed Sandro Ramirez, who's 24 years old, had an awful spell at Everton, and in his last 37 games for La Liga. So he went on loan to Sevilla and he went on loan to Real Sociedad last season. In his last 37 games, he has a whopping 0 goals and assists. So he's not going to be helping that attack very much at all, if we're being honest. They were also in the lower half of the defensive record last season. So both in attack and defense, Valladolid, it's just not it. They just don't have it. They also signed Pedro Porro, who was from Girona. Last season for Girona, he had 4 assists, and Girona obviously got relegated. Manchester City bought him, and they loaned him out to Valladolid. But again, he's 19 years old. He's a right wing back. I feel like it's just not going to be enough to be able to stay in the league, so I do think they are going to be relegated in 19th place. Moving on, we have Eibar, who were bottom 7 in scoring records and defensive records last season in La Liga. And they lost Cucurella, their left back, a great player, one of their best players last season, and they lost him to Getafe. They also didn't make enough signings. Yes, they have a pretty decent squad. They have Inui, they have Pedro Leon, but they don't have much else. They don't have a very good team. They didn't make any signings. They lost a big player. I just don't see it happening for them. I see them getting relegated 18th place. Next, we have Levante. This was a tough choice because I do like Levante. I think they have a really good squad. But they did have the second worst defensive record last season. But they were also top 4 amongst attacking records, scoring more than Atletico Madrid and Valencia. Atletico Madrid got 2nd place, and Valencia got 4th. And they ended up scoring more than Atletico and Valencia. So their attack is on point. They got a great attack. They made key signings. The key signings they made were Ruben Veso, a center back from Valencia. He's a really good player, 25 years old. Good defender. Not great, not amazing, but he's a good, solid defender, and he's played in La Liga for like the past 3 seasons, so, he knows what he's doing. Familiar surroundings. They also signed Sergio Leon, who's already scored this season, and he was a really solid attacking player for Betis in the seasons that he was with them. Really great attacking movement, fast, sneaky, crafty player up front. That's a really good signing. And they managed to keep Roger Martí and Morales, who combined for 25 goals for them last season. Just two players combined for 25 goals for them last season. They managed to keep them and add to the team. But their defensive record is so poor, and they didn't really do anything to address that problem. So I just don't see them finishing that high. But there are going to be exciting games involving Levante. They're going to be an exciting attacking team to watch. And I'm excited. So I have them as 17th in the league. Next, I have Leganés at 16th. Even though last season they did have top 5 defensive record in the league, even better than Real Madrid. Yes, Real Madrid's defense isn't the best. It's like notoriously bad at this point, even though they have so many good players in defense. Like individual players, if you look at them individually, their defense should be one of the greatest, like, of all time. They have an amazing lineup. But Leganés conceded less than them. Leganés conceded less goals than Real Madrid, finishing top 5 defensively in the league last season. But attacking-wise, they're not the greatest, and they didn't really sign many players to address that problem either. They made Martin Braithwaite permanent. He had 19 games for them last season, 4 goals and 5 assists. Even though he already has a goal this season, based on the fact that he only had 4 last season, there's not much upside, it seems. Well, there's a lot of room to improve, but there's not much proof that he's really going to be able to do it. And they also signed Juan Muñoz, who in 26 games in the Segunda División got 9 goals. Now, that's a pretty good scoring record, but then again, he is moving up to La Liga, so I just don't see much happening. They did loan in Guido Carrillo from Southampton, but he had a disaster in Southampton, so I just don't see them getting enough goals. But if they can keep that defensive record up, which is probably unlikely, maybe they finish higher, but I don't think they're going to finish in the top 5 defense again this year. So I do think they will be 16th place in the league, a respectable position. It's a really tough league with a lot of good teams who have improved this season. So I think it's fine for them. In 15th, I have newcomers and Segunda División champions, Osasuna. As I said, they won the Segunda División title to get promoted. They had the best goal record in the Segunda División. 2 top scorers in Roberto Torres and Juan Villar with a combined 24 goals in the league. They also had the 4th best defensive record in the league. So they're a pretty good team. They're a pretty solid team, and there's a really obvious reason and really deserved reason that they won the league last season and they got promoted. And to all this, they added Adrian Lopez from Porto. He is a former Spanish international who was capped twice for Spain and scored a goal. As well, they signed Ruben Garcia Santos, who got 4 goals and 7 assists for Levante last season in La Liga. So they kept their core team that got them promoted, that won them the league last season, and they've added to it. I think they're going to have a pretty solid season, a good season, and they're going to stay safe at 15th. And they're a good team to watch. It's exciting. An exciting team to watch. They currently sit 6th, undefeated, and they drew 2-2 against Barcelona. So the team's looking good. And I'm excited to see them play as well as Levante. Moving on, we have Granada. They had the best defensive record in the Segunda División, conceding only 28 goals. 28 goals. That is an extremely impressive defensive record. Comparing it to Atletico Madrid last season in La Liga, who had the best defensive record, and they conceded 29 goals. So Granada conceded 1 less goal than Atletico Madrid. Obviously, Atletico's playing in La Liga and Granada's playing in the Segunda, but still, 28 goals in any league is an amazing, amazing defensive record. And to this team, that's great defensively. Of course, they need to add attack. They signed 2 great big-time players, big-time names in Roberto Soldado, who has 47 games for Fenerbahce, 15 goals and 8 assists. So pretty good. Turkish league is pretty tough. Roberto Soldado is already, I think, around 34 years old. So for a 34-year-old to be able to do that, it's great. It's great. And he's already La Liga proven, playing for teams like Getafe, playing for teams like Villareal, Valencia. So he knows what he's doing. And he already has a goal and an assist for Granada this season so far. And on top of that, they signed Maxime Gonalons from Roma on loan. He played for Sevilla previously last season and also Lyon. He's a great midfielder, a big name. And these are two signings that I think are really going to help Granada. On top with their already excellent defense, I see them getting 14th place easily. Maybe even finishing a little higher in the table, a little closer to mid-table. But for now, I'm going to say 14th for Granada. Moving on, we have Celta de Vigo, who had one of the worst defensive records in the league last season, but also one of the best scoring records. But part of that reason for the scoring record was Maxi Gomez. He was their second top scorer with 13 goals in the league, and they lost him to Valencia. They still managed to keep their top scorer, Iago Aspas, who scored 20 goals in the league last season, but he is getting up in age, and now he has to pretty much bear that responsibility by himself. Because the replacement they signed was Santi Mina, who in his last 62 games has 19 goals and 7 assists. So it's not that great. Maxi Gomez scored 13 goals last season in around 35 games, and Santi Mina in 62 games got 19. So there's a big gap. There's a big difference in attacking prowess based on those two players' comparison. But they also managed to sign Rafinha on loan from Barca and Denis Suarez permanently from Barca. Two exciting midfielders to maybe lessen the goal burden on Iago Aspas and actually feed him some more. And feed Santi Mina as well. So it's an exciting team. It's going to be interesting to see them perform this season. And I think 13th is pretty doable for them. Pretty doable. They had a pretty bad season last season. They were kind of in a relegation battle. Almost got relegated. So I think they're going to improve and move higher up the table around 13th because they do have a good squad. Moving on, we have Villareal in 12th. They signed Raúl Albiol, Alberto Moreno, Andres Zambo, Anguissa, all defensive players because their defense is not very good. They don't have a good defense. They have a really good squad overall, but they almost got relegated last season. Villareal is a big team, a recognizable name, and they almost got relegated last season. And it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. They have really good players. A really nice up-and-coming player in Chukwueze. I love that guy. Fast, exciting, great dribbling winger. Only like 19 years old, from Nigeria. He looks amazing. He looks amazing, and they managed to keep him. They also managed to keep their top scorers, Ekambi and Gerard Moreno, who combined for 18 goals last season, and managed to keep Barca as a backup, so their attack is set. They have Iborra, an experienced player, played so many games for Sevilla in the league. Didn't have the greatest time in Leicester, so now he's back in Villareal. 6'3" midfielder. He's a giant. He's an imposing figure. They also have Santi Cazorla as their captain. A great creative midfielder. Great passing, great shooting. Amazing in his time at Arsenal. And they also added to that attack with Javi Ontiveros, a promising young winger destined for the Spanish national team. He came on against Real Madrid and he got an assist. He had a great game. And they also signed Moy Gomez, another good, solid Spanish player. But negatively, they lost Pablo Fornals, Sansone, and Soriano. Most notably, Fornals, one of their best and most influential players last season. And in his entire time in that team, they lost him to West Ham. But I think they made enough signings, and I think their team is already good enough to be able to get 12th. We'll see if they can bounce back this season. I believe they will. Moving on, we have Deportivo Alavés. They finished 11th with the 4th worst goal-scoring record last season in La Liga. And I have them finishing 11th again because they signed Lucas Perez and Joselu. Hopefully they can help them in that attacking problem where they finished 4th worst in the goal-scoring records. Lucas Perez, his last time in La Liga with Deportivo La Coruña, in 93 games, he scored 32 goals and got 18 assists. And that's why Arsenal paid for him and signed him, but it just didn't work out for him at Arsenal. And it didn't work out for him at West Ham, so now he's back in La Liga in Deportivo Alavés, not La Coruña. And I think he can make a difference for this team this season. They also signed Oliver Burke on loan from West Brom, promising young Scottish winger. So, they've revamped the attack a bit. So let's see what happens. I think they definitely won't finish in the 4th worst goal scoring records in the league again after adding these signings. But they also lost a big big piece of their team, a defender, center back, and Guillermo Maripan to Monaco. So let's see how they adjust to that. They didn't really sign a replacement, but I do see them just staying there. Same, 11th. The one consistent team in this league, Deportivo Alaves. Moving on, I have Espanyol in 10th place. They finished 7th last season, but they lost two massively important players and didn't really replace them. They lost Borja Iglesias, their top scorer, with 17 goals last season. More than Griezmann. They lost him to Real Betis, and they lost Hermoso, speaking of Atletico Madrid, to Atletico Madrid, their best defender. So they lost two big players, and they didn't really replace them. But they did manage to sign Matias Vargas, a young, promising Argentine winger. Maybe the next Beati. You never know. And they also got Iturraspe for free from Athletic Bilbao, a solid, experienced, and consistent player. But seeing as they didn't replace their two biggest players, and I don't know where the goals are going to come from for them now that Borja Iglesias is gone, I see them dropping 3 spots from last season and finishing 10th right at the mid-table to start our top 10. And moving on, number 9, I have Real Betis. Real Betis, they finished bottom in the defensive record standings. Bottom. They had the worst defense in the league last season. That's awful. It's freaking terrible. And on top of that, they did not address that problem at all. They have an awful defense, and instead of that, they lost a defender. They lost Paul Lopez, who had 10 clean sheets for them last season, so their starting keeper, and they didn't replace him. They just put in Robles, who got a red card in one of the first games of the season, and he's just not a good keeper. He was backup at best at Everton. He's like 5 years older since his time at Everton, and he's just not a top flight keeper. They lost Junior Firpo to Barca. Again, one of their best players, their left back. They lost him, didn't really replace him. And moving on in attack, where they were actually pretty decent, they were able to sign Borja Iglesias, who last year, in 37 games for Espanyol, got 17 goals and 3 assists. Pretty amazing. But then again, they lost Lo Celso, who in 32 games got 9 goals and 4 assists, their best player by far last season. And Sergio Leon, they lost him to Levante, another striker. So they lost their most creative player in Lo Celso. They lost one of their best players in Junior Firpo, and they lost their starting goalkeeper, Paul Lopez to Roma, who had 10 clean sheets last season. But to counteract that, like I said, they signed Borja Iglesias, one of the top scorers last season in La Liga. And of course, what a lot of people are seeing as the bargain of the season, the signing of the season, the weirdest thing to happen in the transfer market for a long time. Real Betis managed to sign former Lyon captain Nabil Fekir, who in 29 games last season got 9 goals and 7 assists, and he's already scored 2 goals in 3 games, including one against Barca. That put him 1-0 up. They eventually lost that game 5-2, but what are you going to do? And another winner against Leganés. So he scored 2 goals. Big game against Barca and a winner against Leganés. So life at Betis has started great for him. We'll see if he can continue that form. From his time at Lyon and his time with the French national team, obviously it seems like he will be able to retain that form, but you never know. And on top of that, they also kept Lorenzo Moron, who has already scored 3 goals and gotten 1 assist in 3 games, including an unbelievable long-range upper 90 golazo against Barca. So players performing against big-time teams, but the defense is still one of the worst in the league. They haven't changed anything in it, and they lost Firpo. I just don't see them making that big of a jump, and they didn't replace their keeper. Hopefully next season they'll target these areas, but for this season they're going to be 9th for me. And next I have Getafe. Getafe have a fantastic coach in Jose Bordalas. They finished 5th. He took this Getafe team and made them finish 5th, qualifying them for the Europa League. And they're just a great team. They play good football. They play well. And they're pretty humble players. Just good people, good players. And on top of that, they added to that team signing Fajar, a great creative attacking midfielder. amazing passing, amazing skills, amazing dribbling. He's going to be a really, really big threat for them, and he's going to add yet another dimension to this team. They also signed Cucurella from Barca. He had an amazing season for Eibar last season, and he already has 2 assists in 3 games. But most importantly, they were able to keep their top scorers, both of them, Jaime Mata and Jorge Molina, who both got 14 goals apiece, and they combined for 11 assists. Amazingly, Jorge Molina is 37 years old, and he was able to manage 14 goals last season. 14 goals, along with Jaime Mata, who also got 14 goals, and he's also in his 30s. But they managed to keep both of them, and even though they won't manage probably to get 14 goals each again, they're still probably going to get around 10 each. Because they have it in them. They showed it last season. They have it in them. They also kept key players in Jen Dakonam, their center back, and Amath Ndayo, another attacking player. So I just see Getafe probably not finishing top 5 again, or not pushing for this Champions League spots, but still finishing in a respectable 8th place, as they didn't really add too much to their team, but they didn't lose too much either. But other teams did get really good, as we're going to see the further and further we go in this table. But I think a respectable 8th place for Getafe is what awaits them this season. And in 7th, I have Real Sociedad. They signed Portu, who had 9 goals and 2 assists in 34 games last season for Girona, a player I personally like a lot. I think he's a really good player. He's really fast, he's really smart, and he's really attack-minded, and I like him. I like Portu a lot, so I have a lot of respect for him, and I think it's a great signing for Sociedad. As well, they signed Alexander Isak, who got 13 goals and 6 assists in 16 games. An amazing goal-scoring record, and on top of that, 6 assists. Great stats. Great season last season for, I think it's pronounced Wilhelm, too, in the Eredivisie. And I think he's a great pickup. He's a young, promising player. Used to belong to Dortmund. They sold him. And I think he's going to do really well for many years to come for Real Sociedad. Going to be a great replacement for Willian Jose. They also signed Odegaard, another young, promising player on loan from Real Madrid. And they signed Monreal, the starting left back for Arsenal, who are trying to compete for Champions League and have been trying to compete for Champions League spots for the past, you name it, seasons. And they signed him for only $285,000. $285,000. A player of his quality and his experience. It's a steal. It's a steal. And they also managed to keep Oyarzabal, who in 37 games last season scored 13 goals and got 2 assists. And their big man up front, Willian Jose, who in 31 games last season got 11 goals and 5 assists. So I think Sociedad are a very solid team. They added really well and really smartly to their team. And I think they can finish in 7th, challenging for those Europa League spots. And next I have Athletic Bilbao. Great team. An amazing story and dedication they have to only signing Basque players. A peculiar thing. And it's strange to see them be so good with this extremely heavy self-inflicted restriction they've given to themselves, which is only signing Basque players. But they manage. They work through their academy. They sign players who other teams probably don't play as much or don't use as much, and they know that they're Basque, and those players know themselves that at Bilbao they're going to get chances and they're going to get regular game time because they're a rare commodity. They have a super solid team with players like Ander Capa and De Marcos on the right, Periche and Muniain on the left. Muniain homegrown, Periche, who played at PSG and formerly at Real Sociedad. They have a commanding Raul Garcia in the middle, and a very exciting, fast, and powerful forward in Iñaki Williams, who scored 13 goals last season. And of course, to add to the attacking threat that is Iñaki Williams, they have the evergreen Aritz Aduriz, who's still banging in goals for the club, just like the last-minute winner. The last-minute Chilena Golazo winner against Barca on opening day. They just have a really good team. This team's played together for a while now. They know each other. They're all from the same region. it's just cool. It's just really cool. It's an amazing story. And last year, Bilbao finished 8th in the league table. They finished a low 13th in scoring, but they finished a really, really high 6th in defensive standings, conceding less goals than Real Madrid. Again, another team who has a better defensive record than a top 3 team last season in Real Madrid, who finished 3rd. Athletic Bilbao conceded less goals, and that was without Kepa. Without Kepa, who moved to Chelsea in a world record transfer fee for a goalkeeper. They finished 6th in defense, and I guarantee their attack is going to be better this season. No, they didn't make any signings. Like I said, they only signed best players, so rare commodity. But Iñaki Williams is just getting better. Aduriz isn't slowing down. Muniain is just getting better. Raul Garcia isn't slowing down either. De Marcos isn't slowing down either. And they have great attacking fullbacks in Ander Capa and Berchiche. So I just see them doing really well. I see them improving from their 8th place finish last season to 6th place this season and qualifying for Europa League. And in 5th, I have Valencia. They're just a really, really good, solid team. Maybe even more than solid. Maybe they're moving into the great teams, right? They got top 4 last season, 4th behind Real Madrid, Atletico, and Barca, respectively. And they qualified for the Champions League. So they're a solid team. Now, to the bad news, they lost their keeper, their starting keeper. They lost Neto, but they quickly replaced him with Silesen. It was some sort of a swap deal with Barca. Silesen is a solid keeper. He's a Dutch national team keeper. He's a really, really good goalkeeper. And I think it's a bit of a downgrade on Neto, but it should be fine. It should be fine. On top of that, they added Maxi Gomez, who got 13 goals last season for Celta de Vigo. They kept Rodrigo, who in the last 2 seasons has 24 goals and 10 assists, so their attack is still on point. They also still have Gameiro. They lost Santimina, but honestly, he wasn't really that effective for Valencia, and they shipped him back to Celta de Vigo. On top of that, they signed Thierry Correia, a promising young fullback from Sporting Lisbon. They got back their former player Mangala on a free transfer from Man City. That's a huge, huge bargain. And they signed Cherichev permanently. They also managed to keep their captain, Parejo, who's been linked with top teams, including Barcelona in the past few seasons. And last season, in 36 games, he got 9 goals and 7 assists. And he already has 2 goals this season in as many games. So he's obviously a very important part of this team, a very important player, and their captain. And they were able to keep him on top of Rodrigo and add Maxi Gomez to the mix. And Mangala to help their defense. So I think it's really good signings made by them, just not enough to really push into that top 3 possibly and challenge Real Madrid, challenge Atletico, and challenge Barca. And I don't even think it's enough for them to keep their 4th place spot. So I do have them dropping to 5th this season. But it's a respectable 5th because, as I've said previously, a lot of teams have improved and made a lot of signings. And we're about to get to those 4 teams. Starting in the top 4, the moment everybody's been waiting for, we have 4th, Sevilla. Sevilla are a very interesting team, honestly. Really interesting. They decided to sell Ben Yedder, who is by far their best attacking player. In 35 games, he got 18 goals and 9 assists, right? He's an amazing player, great dribbler, great finisher, sneaky, crafty, highly skilled player. I think he said he got his roots from futsal. He used to be like a professional futsal player, Ben Yedder. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I heard that somewhere. And it shows. He's amazing. He's got amazing skills, amazing awareness, tight dribbling, great finishing. He's just a phenomenal player. But they did sell him, an aging player. He's 28 years old, almost 29, and they sold him for 40 mil to Monaco. So you can't really blame Sevilla too much for doing that. And they didn't waste much time or waste any resources or hold back any resources to sign his replacement. And they did it in an interesting way. They signed forwards. This is just forwards this season. They signed Ronnie Lopez, who was part of the deal for Ben Yedder, who got 17 goals and 7 assists in his last 2 seasons for Monaco. They signed Munas Dabur, who in 29 games got 20 goals and 5 assists. Lucas Ocampos, last season playing for Marseille, got 4 goals and 7 assists in 34 games. Chicharito, their latest signing, and I think their last signing of the transfer window. We all know Chicharito. He's been already in the league with Real Madrid. He had a great spell at Manchester United. People were calling him the best Mexican player ever, you know, because of his time at United. They were like super hyped off Chicharito. Everybody knows Chicharito. He's a good, solid player. He's in the right place at the right time. He's amazing in the air, and he's a consistent player. He's just a good player to have on the team. But their biggest signing, who I'm assuming they're hoping will really, really replace Ben Yedder, is Luc de Jong, who in 34 games got a whopping 28 goals and 6 assists for PSV last season in the Eredivisie. Now, a lot of good players have come through from the Eredivisie, but a lot of flops as well. I think Luc de Jong is going to do pretty well this season. I think he'll probably score over 12 goals in the league this season. He's a good player, Dutch international. He also scored 4 goals in the Champions League, so he's played at the highest level. We'll see. It's a lot of signings. It's a lot of signings that Sevilla has made. So it's a lot of changes to the team, and we're not done yet. Those were just the forwards, as I said. They signed 3 strikers and 2 wingers. And moving on to the midfield, where they signed Joan Jordan, who got 4 goals and 4 assists for Eibar last season. So again, La Liga proven player, solid, young Spanish player. They also signed Oliver Torres, who's 24 years old. Again, really, really good creative player, great dribbling, former Atletico Madrid youth product. And they signed some experience in the former Fernando, former Man City and Galatasaray player. CDM, he's a good, solid player. Like I said, good experience, smart, good defense, strong player. So yeah, I see Sevilla made a lot of signings and a lot of good signings. But we're not done yet. They also signed a very promising young center back in Jules Koundé, French center back from Bordeaux. Exciting signing for the future, obviously. I think he's only 19 years old, but it's a great pickup. It's a great pickup for Sevilla. And on top of that, they signed Reguilón, who broke through at Real Madrid last season under Solari. He played a lot of games for Real Madrid, and honestly, I think he did really well, being his first season of La Liga football, and it was replacing Marcelo, so he had a lot of pressure on his shoulders and really, really big boots to fill, but I think he did a really good job. Obviously, Real Madrid decided to loan him out, and he already has a goal and an assist for Sevilla, so I see Sevilla, they built a really nice team, and I see them going up from the place they finished last season into Champions League once again, finishing 4th. I'm really excited to see a Sevilla team. I think they're going to be a force. It'd be foolish to underestimate this team and expect them not to finish in Champions League this season. So I have them 4th. And moving on to 3rd place. Honestly, it really could have been anyone. It could have been anyone. It could have been Real Madrid, could have been Barcelona, could have been Atletico Madrid. But in the end, I did decide to go with Atletico Madrid. Why did I decide to go with Atletico Madrid? Mainly because they've had huge changes made to their squad. They lost club favorites, people who have been there for what seems to be a decade at this point. And they've all played together. And it's the foundation of what makes Atletico Madrid. Their defense has completely changed. They've lost Felipe Luis, their first choice left back, Juan Fran, their first choice right back, and they lost Godin for free to Inter. All these players were for free, but what especially hurts is Godin for free. Their captain, their best player, their best defender, their center back, their leader, their commanding force in the back, one of the best defenders in the world, Godin, to Inter for free. And that's going to be a big blow. They pretty much lost their entire defense. On top of that, they lost Lucas Hernandez to Bayern Munich, a super, super promising and versatile defender. He can play left back, he can play center back, and I bet if they asked him, he could play right back or CDM. He's really good on the ball. He was amazing for France in the World Cup, and they lost him. Also, it was 80 mil to Bayern. That was a club record signing for Bayern. So they didn't really lose him. They sold him for a huge profit. But again, they're without him, they're without Godin, they're without Felipe Luis, they're without Juan Fran. The entire defense is gone. The only one standing is Jose Maria Jimenez, who I think is an amazing player. He's like basically the next Godin. He had a great partnership with Godin, but he's the only one left. He's the only one left. And honestly, the signings they made to replace the defense, I'm not a huge fan of. 30-year-old Felipe from Porto, not a fan of that signing for, I think, about 20 mil. Then they signed Hermoso from Espanyol. He's a good player, but he's still young. Yes, he can play left back and center back just like Lucas Hernandez. He's versatile in that aspect, but I don't see it as a huge signing and a proper replacement for either Felipe Luis or Lucas Hernandez at left back or Godin at center back. They still have Savic, but again, Savic never really impressed me too much. I don't really trust Savic. I wouldn't trust him as a starter. And at left back, they also signed Lodi to replace Felipe Luis. And again, a young Brazilian player, left back. He got a red card in one of his first games against Getafe. I don't see it. I don't see it. And at right back, one of the weirdest transfers in recent time that I can remember. They signed Kieran Trippier from Tottenham for like 25 mil. Honestly, I didn't think it was a good signing, but he started off really well. He seems to fit into Simeone's system, into the way Atletico play in today's league, I guess. The style that they're playing right now, Trippier fits well. And unlike Bale, I saw an interview with Trippier, and he said he's going to be doing 5 hours, 2 days a week of Spanish lessons to be able to learn Spanish as quickly as possible. Hopefully, even by next month, be pretty good at it and nearly fluent, you know? He's making the effort. He's bought into Simeone's system. He's bought into Simeone's image and plan. And honestly, it looks like it's going to be a really good signing. A really good signing. On top of that, they also signed players like Marcos Llorente and Hector Herrera to account for the loss of Rodrigo. Another big player that they had just signed last season from Villareal, but I would have sold him honestly as well if Man City were offering 70 mil for him. Obviously, I'm going to sell him. And I think Hector Herrera for free and Marcos Llorente from rivals Real Madrid are really good signings to be able to replace Rodrigo. So I think there they did really well. And they kept Saul, they kept Koke, adding Marcos Llorente and Herrera to the mix, to that midfield. Solid signings. But of course, the most eye-catching change of all. They lost Antoine Griezmann. Their main man for so many years, to rivals Barcelona. Huge pill they got to swallow. He got 15 goals and 9 assists last season. He was their top scorer and amongst their top assisters, if not their top assist getter. And they lost him to rivals Barcelona. Title rivals, Champions League rivals, Copa rivals in every competition that they're involved in. They lost him. They sold him to Barca. But they acted quickly, and they replaced him with a young phenom deemed the next Cristiano Ronaldo, João Felix, who in 26 games for Benfica got 15 goals and 7 assists, and he already has a goal and an assist this season for Atletico. Exciting times at Atletico, but it's a lot of change. I think Simeone is a fantastic coach. I really do. Right now, after 3 games, they are top of the table of La Liga with 9 points, 3 wins out of 3 games. So they're doing well. They really are doing well. But it's just too much change. I just don't see it working off the bat. First season. Second season, yeah. Third season, that's the money right there. That's the money. João Felix is going to be like 22. He's going to be acclimated to his new environment. He's going to get way better than he already is. And alongside Morata and Diego Costa in the attack, they got something going, but I just don't think it's going to happen this season. But they are going to be a really exciting team and a really interesting team to watch. And let's see. Who knows? Maybe Simeone can finally pull it off this year and win the Champions League or win the league again or win something that isn't the Europa League, right? But I have Atletico Madrid third. And now moving on really to the moment that you've all been waiting for. Who's going to get second and who's going to get champion of La Liga? In second, I have possibly a controversial choice depending on how you look at it. Second, I have none other than FC Barcelona. I know you guys are going to kill me in the comments probably and tell me, oh my God, you're so biased. Oh my God, how could you possibly think Barcelona aren't going to win the league again? They added Griezmann. They added De Jong. Like, it's a no-brainer, right? Not so sure about that. Not so sure about that. Yes, they added Griezmann, who in 37 games last season got 15 goals and 9 assists. Even though it was his least productive goal-scoring season of his career in Atletico, it was his most productive assist season in Atletico, tied with last year where he also got 9 assists. But they're not going to play him in his position. They're not going to play him in his position. They're going to play him at left wing when Messi's healthy and Suarez is too. So it's going to be Suarez down the middle, him at left wing and Messi on the right. Or in a free role, really, because Messi just does whatever he wants on that team, which is a huge problem, but whatever. And even though he already has 2 goals and an assist for Barca so far, that was the game that he played center forward against Betis. He played as a center forward, and he played great because that's his position. He likes to play that center forward role, but he's probably not going to be able to do that for the majority of the season. So I just don't see him putting up similar numbers that he did to Atletico last season where he was the main man, because now he's not going to be the main man. He's going to be second or third, behind Messi and Suarez. So I just don't see it being a crazy signing that's going to elevate this team to some ridiculous level, some godlike level or something. I just don't see it. And plus, Barca aren't performing very well right now, and their coach Valverde, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what that lineup he played against Osasuna was, but yeah, I just don't see it happening for Barca. I don't see them winning the league. Yes, Griezmann and De Jong are good additions, along with Neto and Junior Firpo. Neto is an amazing backup keeper to arguably what I think is the best keeper in the world in Ter Stegen. And Firpo is going to be a great backup for Alba, and he's probably going to be the next left back for that team. But again, these signings, they're backups. They're backups. I just don't. And Firpo and Alba are very similar in their playing style. They're very similar players. I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening for Barca. But they did do good business. They sold Malcolm. They sold Gomez. They sold Silesen. They made Alcacer permanent to Dortmund. They sold Denis Suarez, and they loaned out Rafinha. So they sold a bunch of players for some pretty good money. Malcolm, they made a profit on him, even though it was slight. They still made a profit on him, and he had a bad season last season, so yeah. Gomez, they weren't going to play. They sold him for like around 25 mil to Everton. Silesen wanted to leave, got rid of him, got Neto in return. Upgrade, in my opinion. Alcacer, another player who didn't work out at Barca, wasn't going to play. They got around like 30 mil for him. Denis Suarez, they got around 20 mil for him. And Rafinha, a player who wasn't happy at the club and wasn't going to play either, even though he got his chances under Valverde at the start of the season. Loaned him out to Celta Vigo. Just all good moves for Barca. And yeah, I think they're going to get second. Even though they do have the amazing potential lineup of Griezmann, Suarez, Messi up top, Arthur, foolishly Busquets, he's still going to play in the midfield, and De Jong, and a defense of Alba, Lenglet, Piqué, Semedo, and of course the best goalkeeper on the planet, Ter Stegen. But it's just second place for me, because they're nowhere near as good as the champions of the 2019-2020 La Liga season. You guys already know. Real Madrid. They're going to be the champions of the league, led by those 3 handsome, talented, amazingly skilled, and blessed young men, except for Hazard, but whatever. Hazard, Luka Jovic, and Vinicius Jr., the most exciting attack. Eden Hazard. Last season, 37 games, 16 goals, 15 assists. Incredible. And he's going to do it again. In Madrid. He's going to do it again. Jovic, 32 games, 17 goals, 5 assists. Prolific. And he did that at Frankfurt. Imagine him at Real Madrid. He already had an amazing 1-2 with Dani Carvajal, backheeled it, through someone's legs, back to Carvajal. Carvajal slots it into Bale, scored. That was against Villareal this weekend, like 2 days ago. So if Zidane shows him some trust and gives him some playing time, Jovic is going to be very effective. Same goes for Vinicius. He was extremely good last season. I think he surpassed several people's expectations. He was the most exciting and dangerous player one-on-one in the Madrid attack by far. His dribbling is ridiculous. His speed is, God, it's blinding speed, honestly. He's rapid, he's lightning quick, and he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better. And someone I don't really want to mention, but I have to mention, Benzema was second top scorer in the league last season with 21 goals. So if he can get anywhere near that again, hopefully he does better. But if he can get anywhere near that again, then the strike force is going to be, you can't handle it. You're not going to be able to handle those players up top coming at you. And of course, Bale is coming back into the mix because he didn't leave, and we can't just have him playing golf for 400,000 euros a week. That's just not how shit works. So he's obviously going to play, and he's been pretty impressive at the start of this season. He saved us against Villareal with 2 goals. So we'll see. We'll see how Bale works out. And on top of this, Real Madrid know that their defense is freaking awful, even though we have El Capi, Sergio Ramos, but he's obviously on the decline. We have Varane. Something's wrong with him. He's been awful last season, and he's been awful in these first 3 games. I don't know what's wrong with him, but there's something wrong with Varane. And if he keeps playing like this, we're just going to have to sell him. But thankfully, we signed a replacement in Militao. We already have Carvajal at the right. Great player. Odriozola, obviously, he's going to be his successor. And we have Hakimi on loan, who can play on right back or left back. So didn't have to sign anything for that, and we didn't sign anything for right back. But at left back, it's a different story. We have Reguilon on loan. Marcelo is also on the decline. And we spent nearly 50 million on Mendy. Very, very good, promising young fullback. Just like Marcelo, he's great on the attack, but he's better defensively. He's stronger than Marcelo. And obviously, he has way more upside than Marcelo at this point in their careers. Also signed another young, exciting attacker, just like Vinicius and Rodrigo. Same thing. Super fast, great dribbling, young, Brazilian. And that's freaking free kick he scored. That free kick he scored against Bayern in preseason was amazing. Also signed another young, promising player in Kubo. Same thing, same profile as Vinicius and Rodrigo. Young, great dribbling, super fast, a lot of upside, a lot of potential. But we did something that I'm not a fan of. Based on the situation, it made sense. But logically, like, what are we doing? What is Florentino Perez telling Zidane to do? You know, I know he's telling him you can't have Navas as a starter. He's got to be a backup because Courtois, I like him. Why did I sign him? If it wasn't to play him, blah, blah, blah. Courtois is so freaking garbage. He doesn't know how to keep his legs closed, and all he does is concede goal after goal through his stupid long 6'6" body frame legs. He's a fool, and I hate the fact that we had to sell Navas because it makes sense. Navas was only going to play Copa del Rey. He's not a goalkeeper to just play Copa del Rey. He's better than Courtois, and he knows that. I'm fairly sure Zidane knows that, and everybody else knows that. But I know Florentino is demanding that Zidane plays Courtois. It has to be. It's the only reason. It's the only reason. So we're stuck with Courtois, but in return we got 18 mil, and we got young Areola on loan. He was amazing for Villareal when he went on loan from PSG. The first time he went on loan in La Liga. But he hasn't been very good for PSG when he went back. That's why they loaned him out. That's why they signed Navas to replace him. Honestly, if you have to ask me, a situation between Courtois being the definite starter and Navas rotting on the bench, or this situation, which is possibly Areola kind of competing with Courtois. Maybe he can steal the spot from him, but we lose Navas. I'm taking the situation. Anything that gets us away from Courtois and away from Courtois having a starting spot in the team is a win for me. It's a win for me. So not the best signing, but it's still a win for me. And moving on to the players Real Madrid sold. They sold De Tomas, someone who I thought deserved the chance. I think we spent a lot of money on Jovic, 60 mil. It wouldn't have been my first choice, but I'm still excited that he's on the team, and I think he's going to do well. Honestly thought De Tomas should have gotten his chance, but we sold him for a good 25 mil to Benfica. We also sold Marcos Llorente to Atletico Madrid for nearly 40 million. That's an amazing deal. I like Llorente, but for 40 mil, I mean, you got to do it. You got to do it. We also abused Chelsea's transfer ban and sold them Kovacic for around the same amount. Again, another huge win, an amazing sale. I didn't think we'd get nearly that amount of money for Kovacic, and a great business decision from many questionable ones that Florentino makes. We also managed to sell Theo Hernandez to Milan, and like I said, we sold Keylor Navas to PSG, 18 mil. Honestly, club legend, 3 Champions Leagues in a row. He was a really, really big part of that. I'm going to miss him. Hopefully, Areola can take the number 1 spot away from Courtois. Just fucking snatch it from him, Areola, please. Please. You're French. You have that with Zidane. Just start speaking French. I'm fairly sure Courtois speaks French too, but he's Belgian, so he's like fake. Like, please, just steal it. Steal it from Courtois. We need someone who isn't named Thibaut Courtois. And then on loan, they loaned out Reguilon to Sevilla, loaned out Odegaard to Sociedad, so they're going to be getting valuable starting first-team experience in La Liga. Loaned out Vallejo to Wolverhampton. He's probably going to play a good amount of games. Loaned out Ceballos to Arsenal. He's going to be one of their main players, one of their best players for the season, and they're challenging for Champions League, so that's a really good loan too. He's going to get a lot of experience, and he's going to put a name out for himself, so if you want to sell him, Arsenal is going to increase his value. And if we want to keep him, Arsenal is going to increase his value and his experience and further his potential and make him a better player. So either way, win-win. Loaned out Kubo as well to get first-team experience. And loaned out Lunin, our third goalkeeper, would have been behind Courtois and now Areola, so to get more experience. So honestly, I think Real Madrid made some great signings, made some smart moves, and their potential best attacking lineup, their best starting lineup, of Hazard on the left. Either Benzema or Jovic in the middle. I prefer Jovic, but whatever. Let's go with Benzema because Zidane loves Benzema. They're both freaking balding. They're both French. Whatever. They look very similar. He just loves Benzema. He's going to play him. So Benzema in the middle. Hopefully Vinicius on the right or Bale because he's looking good this season. Now Lucas Vazquez. In the midfield, Toni Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric. The classic midfield that's won us so much. Hopefully they will understand that they're not the hottest shit on the planet and they got a wake-up call last season and they'll actually go back to playing hard, giving their all for the team and get us to that championship this season, winning the league title. And on the left we have Mendy or Marcelo. Either way it works. Mendy against Villareal played really well. We have Sergio Ramos in the middle. Hopefully, instead of Varane, Militao, because Varane has been awful, or Varane needs to improve immediately. Either Carvajal or Rodrigo Sola on the right. Either way, it's perfect. Probably Carvajal. And in goal, sadly, our huge, biggest weak point is Courtois. Because he's not fast enough. He's not agile enough. He's not smart enough in the goal. And he doesn't know how to close his little freaking legs. He doesn't know how to close them. He just doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. If I close them, the ball can't go through them. He just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. But even so, I see Real Madrid winning the league. I see Hazard being an elite player in this league and continuing to be a top player in the world. And that's it. Those are my predictions. Those are all my La Liga predictions. Please, guys, please, if you made it to this point of the video or any point of the video, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notification button so you know exactly when my videos come out the moment that they do. And let me know your own predictions in the comments and how you like the video, the style of the video, if the audio is still off, all those things. Just let me know. I really appreciate it. And, yeah, I'll see you guys next time.